Rodrigo Acuna is an independent journalist, and he comes from the diaspora that was sent out Chile many years ago with the same ruthless regime that's empowered now to displace people still all these years later. And Rodrigo's going to talk to us about his message for Assange, and it's also the message of his suffering people from South America. So Rodrigo, could you give us a few words, please?
Thank you. I find it difficult to believe it's been so long, that the time that Julian has been incarcerated and how long this campaign has taken. I want to thank everyone that's turned up today, the organisers, and particularly the people that have dedicated so long of their time and dedication to this cause, which is so important. It is so fundamental. About over a decade ago, WikiLeaks revealed an incredible amount of US diplomatic cables in terms of their relations, the United States relations, diplomatic relations with Latin American countries. Those revelations caused a lot of embarrassment for certain countries in Latin America. It caused a lot of embarrassment for the United States. It highlighted, not necessarily highly sensitive information, but it highlighted how the United States does business around the world, how the United States does business in Latin America, its historical backyard. It's embarrassing. It was embarrassing for them. Industrial espionage against Brazil, attempting to find out if the president of Argentina, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, whether she was on any medications because her husband had recently died. The list went on and on and on. And the United States was quite upset because, again, it took away the mask, the facade that they have, that they support freedom, that its government supports democracy around the world. That's so far removed from the truth. In Latin America, for example, in the country of Colombia, there was a civil war that raged on for almost 50 years. The United States had no problems supporting the most reactionary forces inside the country, forces that killed hundreds, even in fact thousands of trade union leaders, progressive social activists, environmentalists, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. Even today, after 7 years of a peace agreement, the Colombian state, there are serious errors and failures in that peace agreement. Do you want to know who actually contributed to creating peace, to getting the FARC guerrillas to sign an agreement with the Colombian state? It was Cuba. It was Venezuela. You know, the international boogeymen of Latin America, they actually managed to contributed to sitting the guerrillas down and talking to them and saying, look, let's try and find what points we have in common. You will have in common with the Colombian state. I haven't read anything positive about the United States in those peace negotiations. You know, I know about Plan Colombia. I know about funding for weapons. I know about Israeli military advisors in Colombia, but I don't know about U.S. diplomats working into overdrive for peace in Colombia. Again, we move on. Ecuador. There was an attempted coup d'etat in Ecuador, 2011 or 12, if my memory serves me correctly. U.S. diplomats in the United States was happy to fund sectors of the Ecuadorian police force, and when the president at the time, Rafael Correa, attempted to negotiate with them, they decided to kidnap him. And there were plans in place to carry out a coup d'etat. The coup d'etat did not work out. But, you know, what do you think? Take a wild guess what the role of the United States was in those developments. Shouldn't even say, you know. They were not in favor of a progressive government in Ecuador. In fact, the president of the country at the time, Rafael Correa, talked about how a US base in Ecuador, the lease for the US base was not going to be renewed under his administration. And he said, quite sensibly in my opinion, the day that the United States allows for an Ecuadorian military base in the United States, then we can talk about Ecuador having a US military base, about the United States having a military base in Ecuador. So Julian Assange, believe it or not, is known widely throughout Latin America. He is respected in Latin America. WikiLeaks is respected in Latin America. I hope one day we see statues to Assange in Latin America. I hope we see something here in Australia, his place of birth. And it really saddens me, but it also gives me encouragement to see that you guys are still going, you know, that you're still doing the groundwork, that he is not alone. And Albo, I mean, mate, you're a disappointment, honestly. You know, how much does it take to speak a few words for an Australian citizen? You know, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all the major newspapers were happy to collaborate with WikiLeaks when they thought there was something in it for them. But then when the US government decides to go after WikiLeaks, after Assange, they are leaving, you know, up to hang up and dry. I mean, pathetic, you know, unacceptable, completely unacceptable. Shame, exactly, shame, you know. So, again, Penny Wong, Prime Minister Albanese, do something, say something, act. Don't just claim that you're engaging in, you know, diplomatic, you know, closed negotiations. I mean, we don't believe it. We just don't believe you anymore, okay? Assange needs to come home. He needs to come home. He needs to engage in his job as an editor, as a journalist, and from Latin America. I can tell you many people appreciate him. So thank you for allowing me here to speak with you today. Thank you.